And we're going to talk about a lot of that in the next hour and a half of these lectures, and then you'll see that also in your homework and on the exam. And so becoming familiar with the vocabulary of ROI analyses is an important thing to do. And then IT professionals need to be familiar with at least some methodology of doing these, and we will present a methodology here in this lecture series. Okay. As we've said before, ROI analyses are non-trivial in most cases. They contain two parts, besides, of course, the cost part, but under the benefits part, two types of benefits, tangible and intangible. And this realization that benefits are not benefits unless the other executives in the company are in agreement with you, that those are the expected benefits of the project. Now, if that starts to speak of political communications and a political process, you're getting the right idea. ROI analyses for very large funded projects, and large is always relative to whatever the revenue stream is for a particular company, but an expenditure that's very large relative to the budget for the company, those are always going to be political processes as well as financial processes. And the political part of that is, for the most part, being skilled in communicating your analysis to other people in the company and getting other key players in the company and getting those key influential decision makers throughout the company at the VP level or the CXO level to agree with you that yes, your analysis seems reasonable for this particular project. Now, when we're talking about tangible benefits, we need an accepted methodology for analysis. We need measurements. We need a plan for validating your measurements. The benefiting business units can usually help with this a great deal. And if you haven't had a lot of experience in involving the business units in this, they can help probably more than you would expect them to be able to help. And that kind of makes sense. I mean, if they're going to be the users of the system, they probably have a better sense for what the impact of that system is going to do, and then how to quantify the business value of that impact. And then, of course, the CFO has to approve all your numbers and conclusions. If the CFO doesn't agree, then you don't have numbers and conclusions. Now we get to the intangibles. Now, unfortunately for us in the IT world, oftentimes it's the intangibles that carry the decision to fund the project. What that means is usually the benefiting users can often help. As we said with tangible benefits, that will be true with intangible benefits. The justification for these should usually be very short and non-technical. Let's admit to ourselves that oftentimes trying to put dollar signs against intangible benefits makes us nervous. We don't like guessing wildly in the dark, and that's the way it seems to be sometimes when we try and put dollar figures against intangible benefits. And so we have some words of wisdom here from Jack Keane in an article entitled "Don't Ignore the Intangibles." Jack says that even benefits that are hard to quantify can be an important part of a successful business case. And as we said, almost always they are. When it comes to adding muscle to business cases, there's an unjustified fear of measuring what are considered intangible benefits. But a more astute handling of intangibles, those goals that can't be easily measured in dollar terms, can provide a big boost to the justification for the project. Now, some opening thoughts here. more than 25% of the value of enterprises is now based on intangible assets. Intangibles such as brand image, such as market share. Unfortunately, when business cases are devoid of intangible analysis, projects vital to the enterprise go unfunded. In other words, if we underestimate the potential benefit of an intangible, because we don't want to risk overestimating that. We already talked about why that's a bad idea. But if we grossly underestimate that benefit, then we may not have enough benefit to get the IT project funded. Remember, it's competing with other projects throughout the rest of the corporation for funding. And that might have been a very important project. And had we done a better job at accurately estimating the intangible benefits, we would have gotten a clearer picture of why this is important to the business. And so we continue on here with this quote from Jack Keane: strategically marginal projects showing a high ROI, often because the investment is small, get the money. Such misguided project investments can undermine critical strategic goals such as improvement of market share and sharpening of competitive advantage. All right, so there are three dangerous myths that we need to address here. One is that intangibles always remain so. Another is that intangibles have no worth. Again, these are lies. And good decisions consider only the facts. So let's address each of these three. The first, using building blocks to convert intangibles to tangibles. We have a premise, a formula, certain metrics, and then good old-fashioned common sense to address dangerous myth number one. Okay, 75% of the intangibles cited in business cases could have been and probably should have been converted to tangibles. Now, Jack Keane says after system deployment, but oftentimes this can be done before system deployment. And so we ask the question, how? Well, follow the data. If you projected an increase in sales of 2% because of this new IT customer service system that IT is going to develop and install, you should be able to measure that after the fact. Did we in fact see a 2% increase in sales? Asking those who know. A lot of times people who are out using the system, interfacing with the customers, will have insights about the benefits to the system, things that ought to be measured that maybe you never even thought about measuring. And then find the causes of silence. Why are people not expressing their needs? Why are corporate solutions going unused? Dangerous myth number two, intangibles have no worth. Many things in our economic life are both highly valuable and quite intangible. What is the value of the Coca-Cola logo? Well, let me just ask you a question. Let's say that you somehow got the rights from Coca-Cola to use its secret formula for making Coke, but not its logo. And so you built your own bottling plant and you made lots of cans or bottles of your cola, which tasted exactly like Coca-Cola, and then you tried to take that into the marketplace. What do you think? Are people going to buy your cola as often as Coca-Cola, even if you sell it for half or a third the price of Coca-Cola? The answer is no. Coca-Cola is going to continue to maintain very close to their market share, even though somebody else has a product that tastes identically the same, costs 1/3 the amount as a can of Coca-Cola, and that's because the logo, the brand image, has got huge value in the marketplace. People value that logo. And how is that a tangible? That's not